perspectives, different views, one voice.
Welcome to the LDN Perspective Podcast. My name is Kojo,
Chris.
and we have with us today two special guests.
My name is Dayo Ajibola. I'm a HR business partner, and I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
My name is Sarah, I work in procurement, and I'm also happy to be here.
Okay, great. And we're here to discuss Jay-Z and the NFL with Colin Kaepernick. From what I've been following so far, Colin Kaepernick has been taking the knee as a form of protest of treatment of black people in America, especially around police brutality. I guess from the perspective of the NFL, I think from the social media conversations I've been following, people feel like he's been highly affected by taking those protests, where at the moment he's not even able to play in the NFL. So there is that conversation going on, but I guess the conversation that we're discussing today was more around Jay-Z and working the partnership with the NFL, how that sits with the whole protest around police brutality when it comes to black people.
Just before I start, can I just sort of add to your background? Colin Kaepernick's stance was to take a knee as a way to protest social injustice in America, especially with regards to the shooting of unarmed black men in America. So it's a way for him to do that. Now, a lot of people don't know this, but that idea came about because Colin Kaepernick met with a retired U.S. Army officer to talk about obviously what he can do to raise awareness, because initially there were discussions about obviously if he doesn't salute the national anthem, how disrespectful that would be.
To the military and
absolutely. And it was the military gentleman actually gave him the suggestion to say, actually, by taking a knee, you're raising awareness to your situation. At the same time, you're not disrespecting the military flag. So I think a lot of people seem to disregard that little detail as part of the whole social injustice movement, which Colin Kaepernick sort of started within the NFL. So again, he has addressed that on so many occasions to say, listen, I'm not disrespecting the flag. Taking the knee was something that was suggested by a U.S. officer to me as part of the discussion on how we raise this awareness. So I think it's a good thing to let a lot of people know that, because people do get lost in the narrative that what is doing is quite disrespectful. It's not. It's just his way to sort of bring to attention the social injustice in the NFL.
Cool. Thank you for that. So, conversation around Jay-Z and NFL. What do you guys think of it then? Do we think, because at the end of the day, some people could say this is good for black people because Jay-Z is working to bring more awareness and he'll be able to provide jobs. What do people generally say on this?
I personally think it's a great move for Jay-Z. It's nothing for the black community or the social justice thing that he says that he's entered the deal for. First of all, if Kaepernick started the whole social justice movement, how do you have discussions about a social injustice movement without Kaepernick? Me, I just think that Jay-Z is the typical capitalist. He wants more money. The fact that in this deal he also controls the the entertainment throughout. It's definitely a money move.
Yeah.
So I have no problem with him making a money move. I just have a problem with him hiding behind the fact of what he's doing it for. Don't say you're doing it for social injustice when the movement, the whole movement of blackballing the NFL in the first place, the person that started that was not involved in those talks. If you wanted to have a talk about your media separate, fair enough. But the social injustice part, I just feel like it doesn't make sense not including the person that everybody's knows for and knows the person that's done it, that started it or originated it.
Yeah. Anyone to add to that?
I'm a bit conflicted about the move, and I think I'm conflicted about the move because obviously I've got two different perspectives from this. So I think the first part is what Sarah said. I mean, to an extent, yes, I do agree with you that it is a beneficial sort of prospect for Jay-Z in terms of financially and in terms of having some sort of more opportunity to promote his product. I mean, they have been rumors going around that part of the agreement is that he will have a share in one of the NFL teams. Again, it's a rumor. I don't know whether that's true or not. I think I also agree with Sarah's point that if you're going to start a social justice, or if you're going to continue what Colin Kaepernick sort of began, it's only right that you involve him in the conversation, or you sort of, keep him signposted that is what I'm about to do. I think where I'm skeptical about it is the social justice part. Now, I don't know if any of you seen the interview where Jay-Z sort of launched this. The interview with
what with the owner,
with the commissioner, with the meeting, and had a discussion. And so to see the interview, I saw the interview, and I think there were quite a few questions that came in, especially
Charlemagne actually asked some good questions.
I'm not a big fan of him, but he did have some good questions about Jay-Z.
Now,
one of the things Jay-Z said during the meeting, which to me was quite shocking, was he said, it was a very blasé statement. He said, "We've moved on from kneeling."
Yeah, that's what everyone thinks.
So, to me, that's a big issue. Well, how can we move on from kneeling down when the powers that be haven't acknowledged social injustice issue with regards to what Colin Kaepernick was trying to raise? So, to me, there has been no acknowledgement from the NFL owners to say, we do support this movement. We do acknowledge that there has been, some unfair treatment of black men in America that have been shot by police while they're unharmed. So, to me, you cannot say we've moved on from kneeling when actually that issue itself has not been actually addressed. And I think that's where there's a problem for me. So in terms of that, I have an issue in terms of, I don't see the benefit. I don't see Jay-Z trying to benefit the movement in any way, because I don't think I don't want to be ignorant and say I don't think he knows fully well what the movement is about, but I think he's almost sort of brushed it under the carpet in pursuit of his own personal agenda, and I think that's where I have a problem. Now, he might prove us wrong and actually push it forward, and I think to an extent you don't want to give him an opportunity to do this.
You see, with me, I feel I'm more, to be honest, I'm more like 50-50. With someone like Jay-Z, for me personally, I'm a big Jay-Z fan. I'm such a big Jay-Z fan. I think obviously a lot of, especially black people, are. So I think straight away, the move came as a disappointment. Do you understand? It just naturally came. But for me, when I grasped that, the whole thing of what was actually happening, when I obviously listened to Jay-Z, what he was saying in the interviews and everything, and I looked at the backstory of it and everything, I was like, I don't know. For me, I was disappointed in the fact of, I do understand he's doing the business moves and that's what Sarah said, get your money. We're all for that. We're all for being the biggest, whatever you want to do. We're all for that. And I get that. But what it was just like Darryl said as well, it's that line he said of we're moving past kneeling. The first thing is, when did you know? No, because that's really what it is. And this is the real conversations you would have to have with, because you got to see it's that real. I would have to ask that question like I'm talking to another brother, not Jay-Z. Do you understand what I mean? So if he's talking to me like that, like if I was in the room and when did you know? Simply that you're saying we're moving past kneeling. When did you know? When did you risk your career?
Exactly, and I think that's
for the when did you risk these things?
Exactly.
But what sacrifice did you make?
Absolutely.
Because as far as I'm concerned, Colin Kaepernick, he risked it all.
Yeah.
Even apart from him, everyone with a social injustice in that system, they're risking a lot of things.
Yeah.
He ain't risking nothing. Matter of fact, and sorry to say, even as a Jay-Z fan, he partly glorified a lot of it. Do you understand what I'm saying? But that's another conversation. And he capitalized off it.
Definitely.
So that's what he's got, and this is what it is. And my thing is, in truth, part of it was for me, I was like, Jay-Z. I've heard a lot of ignorant statements from a lot of rappers, but I didn't expect it of Jay-Z, especially at this big man age. Because what it is if this was old Jay-Z before Beyonce, you know when money ain't a thing and, you know what I mean, big pimping, and I heard some flower comments, I'd be like, cool, young Jay-Z, a bit wild. But bro, I'm hearing Jay-Z talking about what's free.
Buy back the...
Do you see what I'm saying? Buy back the block. I'm hearing OJ's story. I'm hearing grown Jay-Z. So when he's talking, I'm like, cool, you're in tune with this thing. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, you know what's happening. You're aware. But then, at the same time, I've got to understand, he isn't, to a certain extent. He's not on the streets anymore. You understand? He's still getting secondary information from how it really is, like social injustice wise. So he's in rooms with those people that are committing social injustices, and he's laughing and joking with them. Clearly, because he's brokering deals that benefit his pocket. So what it is for me, all in all, it ended up looking like, all right, I'm 50-50, I get that side, but you do kind of look like, and I'm sorry to say this, you kind of look like You look like a house nigga. Like you actually look like a house. Because if you deep the whole story, you're putting other blacks under the bus, and you're sweeping what's important to them. They're grabs with the massa, and you're sweeping it under the carpet so it can benefit you, so you could be closer to massa.
Okay,
Because
so-
obviously now you're in the household, you're in the house where you're eating big bread now. You're eating
Looking
bread
down
that
on the
man ain't
people
bread.
now.
You're
Yeah.
sleeping in rooms these guys ain't sleeping. You're in places the field niggas ain't in. Do you understand what I mean? But it's a closer way for him to get to Massa. And it might not be that deep to a lot of people, but people got to recognise there's power positions here. And that's all it is. I've just used an analogy. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah,
and
no, I
that's
think-
all it is for me.
Yeah, so just going back on the statement, because I have watched a lot of the videos actually. So what Jay-Z actually said is that this is the next phase. So a quote from him where there are two parts of protesting. You go outside and you protest, and then the company or the individual says, I hear you. What do we do next? I think we've moved past kneeling. I think it's time for action. So I guess where Jay-Z is coming from is that the kneeling has got us to this point where people are prepared to sit down. And it's beneficial at this point to mention that the deal is more about the whole NFL
It's the music.
music, but there is part of it to do with how they address social injustice within the community as well, reading the actual, and this is from the NFL website actually, reading what it's about. So, yes, is he not right to a certain extent that at some point we have to move on from...
No.
Wait, guys. Sorry. So, just breaking it down again,
Yes.
protest is to get some sort of traction, right?
Yes.
And then when you get that traction is when you sit down to make some sort of agreement that's beneficial for parties that this is affecting. And in regards to touching on Jay-Z has been, I'm not sure if you've been following, but he has been like getting people, lawyers to fight cases and stuff. He has been doing things,
No
right?
doubt.
Wait.
No doubt.
So just to say that on one hand, and I'm not saying he's just not trying to line his pocket, but he has been socially involved in some of the movements that are going on. So when he is saying, is there not a point? I'll go to Sarah on this first, yeah. Is there not a point where you protest, then you need to sit down and then have a conversation about the next steps? And I guess, is that not where he's coming from?
I understand that, and I definitely agree with the fact that there's only so long you can protest or like march, etc., and nothing happens. I get it. But my point is this. No one's disputing Jay-Z can go and do his moves. Like you said, the main issue was the whole entertainment
Halftime,
thing.
yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That was what... So he's now got like a contract to control all entertainment around the biggest time of the year in America. And then the social injustice... To me, it just sounds like the social justice thing is something that you've taken on to appease the masses.
Yeah, it's
Do you
like,
know
give
what I
me
mean?
this big
Yeah,
contract,
do you know what-
and I'll just take this because I
and
can
give it
keep
to-
people.
And I'll
That's
say
how
I'll
you
help
feel.
this, and I help that. My simple point is this: if you started a movement, a social, and you sacrificed money, your career, and then I'm like, okay, yeah, now time for the next step. I cut you out and be like, so the next step is this. How would you feel?
So yeah, I do agree with that point that Sarah has made. I think when you look at this whole situation with Jay-Z in the NFL, I think you need to sort of look at the optics quite clearly. And I think what I mean by that is that it's almost as if the owners and the NFL have deliberately made an example of Colin Kaepernick.
100.
And they made that example to deter any other NFL players, especially NFL players of colour, from raising this sort of issue.
Sorry to cut you there. Can you not relate that to the analogy I just gave of a
Of the
house?
house nigga.
Yeah,
They've literally
definitely.
put Colin Kaepernick on the tree, spread him out in front of the other NFL players, and they say, hey, here slaves, look, this is what you don't do in this house. This is what we're whipping. He's out of here.
Also, additionally, I feel that if you look at the whole NFL issue, one of the problems that I have personally is that, first of all, what gives Jay-Z, what gives him the right to think that he's the appropriate spokesperson for the NFL to take this matter forward? He hasn't been elected by any committee. He hasn't been chosen. He just brought himself forward. And also, I mean, I haven't really dissected the whole NFL Jay-Z deal, but to me, the social justice element seems almost secondary to the actual deal, which is more of the halftime, I mean, is he going to be putting people like Talib Kweli on the halftime show?
No, it should.
No,
It should. It's like, you should.
It's going
It has to be, unless you're saying
He
all
put
black
on a
art.
concert and
Is
it's
he-
being headlined by Meek Mill and Meghan Trainor. Who's
I didn't
Megan?
know
I hear you.
I don't know
Exactly.
that is.
Who's that?
Exactly. Oh, wow.
No, so I do think to an extent you're looking at obviously. Again, I think it'll be interesting to find out the intricate details of the deal in terms of what was actually agreed because
We'll never find out.
exactly. So to me, no, I think I don't want to write him off to say that he's not going to do anything. I think it's going to be ignorant of me to do that because you need to give him a chance. But I think right now, based on the precedent that he's set in terms of how he's treated Colin Kaepernick, how he's excluded him, and based on the fact, I think if he had fought as part of his deal with the NFL for Colin Kaepernick to be signed by a team so he can get his job back, it gives his movement a bit more credibility.
Yeah.
If he had said, you know what, as part of this deal, I've spoken to the NFL and they've actually agreed that a team will pick up Colin Kaepernick as part of this season, so he has a job. Then it will be a bit more.
Yeah, but then that would mean that the NFL have intentionally blackballed him.
That's the whole.
No, wait.
But they've already agreed that,
Okay. So
But they've already
no.
agreed that, and
What
they
you
paid
need
him
to
for
understand
it.
is the dynamics of this. No, so the payoff was something. There was a settlement between him and the other guy. There's another player that's still Eric Reid still kneeling.
No, but he played
So-
for the Panthers. But at least he's got to a job.
So
That's the
look,
thing.
I think the point that, and I'll let you come in, Chris. Just give me 1 sec. I think the point that you raise is valid. I think one thing of Jay-Z coming out to say that because of this deal now, Colin Kaepernick could get a team within the NFL. Is the NFL actually admitting there's one thing of intent, and there's one thing of admitting that you've actually blackballed someone. That's the point I was just trying to make there, right? So they would not. It makes no sense for a business to go out there and let someone make such a statement because it's them actually admitting what they have actually done, and you don't normally find that within business enterprise.
What I will say, this is where I'm 50-50, even though for the criticisms I've got of the whole thing, what Jay-Z's done. The other side is, to be honest, as a businessman, what he's done is genius. Like, everything he's done. Like, if I'm just looking at it objectively without the emotions and, you know what I mean, me being a black man, it's a genius move as a businessman. Forget the colour, do you see what I mean? What it is what I can see, because you have to think that futuristic and like, because you're gonna ask yourself, why did he do it? Do you understand what I mean? And I think for him, because he's someone who's so forward thinking, and people like him, they're in that position where they have to be so forward thinking. So they have to do stuff where they're gonna have to be forced to take those risks that other people and the general public cannot see at the time. Do you understand what I mean? So they'll do these moves that will be an outrage, but let's say in 5-10 years down the line, people can start seeing it. Do you see what I mean? So like you said, that you might not know yet, but how do you not know if you look at the stats after he's done this, how much black people are better off, especially entertainers. Do you see what I mean? Maybe sports stars, and because you got to remember, because he's got Rock Nation and everything, he manages sports stars and all of that. Do you see what I mean? So he's clearly tying all of this in. Do you see what I mean?
No, I agree. I think
figure for social justice. I just want to know, is this something that he could not have done without partnering with the NFL?
The main thing is the NFL deal. That's the money.
But that's my point.
Yeah. But obviously, do you know what it is? He looks like a hypocrite. Especially,
He's a hypocrite.
Yeah, he is. He definitely is a hypocrite. This is obviously.
I mean, he took Jermaine Dupri.
Yeah.
Everyone else knows.
Yeah, that's
Well, Jay Dupri said that it didn't happen.
Yeah,
I don't
no,
believe
okay,
it, but
okay.
he
So
said it
wait. So
didn't happen.
let's pause on that for a sec because they're moving on the conversation along. It was the part of what I was going to touch on regarding the whole media response to this. Because I feel like it's quite, from what I've been following. So when you're following a lot of these big media networks, like what's that one, Breakfast Club, and they are outwardly not really going out there to criticize Jay-Z, right? Because of the influence that he has. The only people that I see criticizing Jay-Z is Joe Bloggs like myself, just going on YouTube to say, what's going on here? How can you do that? Even on, what's his name, Ebro, is it Ebro and... all of them are kind of like on the fence. So why do we think that's why do we think that's happening? Because what I'm trying to say is that in the black community, he is self-elected, but the black people respond to that, whether we like it or not, right? So when he is self-elected and he gets to that position, why are we not calling a spade within the media industry?
But again,
it's all just going to be hypocrisy.
So,
do you know what I mean?
so-
That
so
Charlemagne calling him a sellout is cheeky.
Yeah.
Absolutely
No,
cheeky.
money.
Do you know what I mean?
When money comes into it,
Everyone's perspective changes.
No, but is it not as well the power that he has in
but-
But,
Yeah, the
but
money
my
and
thing
power.
is this: we're not this critical about anybody else. Like black people, like for me, Jay-Z is like an inspiration in terms of where he's come from to what he's achieved.
I think everything you guys are saying is actually correct. I don't actually disagree with your statements at all. And I think that's where it's a problem. It's because of the status that Jay-Z holds within the black community. That's why this is even a bigger problem.
Yeah.
And you see that this is the reason why the NFL have deliberately collaborated with
him. Yeah.
Because they know that by collaborating with Jay-Z,
yeah, obviously.
the black community will not come up and actually say, "Oh no, we might beat around the bush a little bit, but we'll never sort of criticize that what he's doing is wrong."
Because it's Jay-Z.
I don't see the
And that's
problem
the
with
reason
that,
why
to
they
be
can
fair,
move on from
because
it.
that's what they want us to do. They want to
Exactly.
turn us against Jay-Z,
Well,
but at the end of the day, there's white people doing
But
worse
do you
to everybody in the world, and no one ain't calling them out. So
Do you know what
I
it
don't
is?
see why we would turn
they
him.
know NFL, they're smart, obviously. The people who hold the power. So obviously they're pulling the strings. So they know, all right, again with the whole analogy, they know who holds the power, who holds weight in the black community. Literally, who holds weight and has got the most money, this and that. Who can make us money and who's still respectable in the black community where they can connect to it and make us even more money, not just through them, but through the community that we're trying to tap into. And that's where it was. And that's where the social injustice thing gets tied into it. Because as soon as you do that, black people start waking up and start going, oh, social injustice? Okay, let's hear more about this. So now more black faces are turning towards the NFL. Whereas, because you got to remember, after the Colin Kaepernick thing happened, obviously black people were like, "Bro, I'm not watching the NFL like that." People, it was that you could tell it was that a lot of blacks were like NFL disrespecting Colin Kaepernick and the whole black injustice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they're just seeing it as, all right, cool. We're gonna block that out. So yeah, it's like the NFL using Jay-Z to obviously get closer to the black community to exploit them. And what it is it looks like Jay-Z said, okay, we know, like I know you are, so I want to make money like you. I want to be in your position. I want to eat your crumbs. You understand? Because I'm not going to own a stake in no NFL team. So I'll have your crumbs. Your crumbs is big money to someone in my community. And that's the real
No, so I think...
So it's like one of them ones, he's like, all right, cool, I'll let you exploit these, man. Because at the end of the day, I've exploited them myself. Because it's capitalism.
But is it fair? Wait, is it fair though to say that when I'm not talking about capitalism. I'm just talking about the dynamics or the structure of the deal in a sense that is it fair for us to say these things now? Because if there's because there's the rumors going around saying him having a stake in an NFL team. I know it hasn't transpired yet, but if that was to transpire and then Colin Kaepernick is in one of these teams, then I'm guessing what.
No, but my point is.
Wait. Sorry, just before you come in, yeah. But because if you're saying if that happens and you're saying it's not changing nothing, then I guess
that would change a bit, but only
because
a bit.
Because I think with every you could come in and say it after. I think what I'm trying to say here is that with every protest, you have to come a point and say, what is it that you want at the end of this? You have to actually know what you want. Because sometimes when you are being offered something that's aiding towards the problem, if you don't know what you want, you still be saying that, this is not good enough, right? So I'm just saying, on the other hand, let's say this deal that's being mentioned, most of it we know is more for the entertainment part. But let's say in regards to the social aspect, social injustice aspect, if there is part of him owning an NFL brand, and then Colin Kaepernick playing back in the NFL, what would we say about that then? How would we see this whole deal if that was to transpire?
The thing about it is that if that was the case, then that's what should have happened. What you've done is you've announce something. If it's unfinished, then it's unfinished, but that's what you've announced, so that's the only thing we can go by. If it is a case whereby a couple years down the line, maybe if I'm alive, maybe my kids are alive, they see the effects of what Jay-Z has done, then I'm sure the narrative will change. But at this moment in time, we can only deal with the information that they have provided for us. And if there was anything sensationalized like that, I'm sure we would have known by now. Kaepernick said that they didn't discuss nothing with him. My thing is this: if Jay-Z came out and said he made a deal with the entertainment people, etc., and didn't try and include the whole social justice and Kaepernick thing, everybody would be celebrating him because he's doing what he said, taking a seat at the table. No one's mad at you for that. Don't get your coins. I'd rather you give my money to you, which I know will go towards helping like other disadvantaged people, especially disadvantaged black people. So I would rather give you my money. However, when you start to call in things that are not clear or they're not like what you're saying there to be, like to us, it's not what you're saying it to be, it now becomes looking shady.
I think, yeah, you're definitely right. I think if it was separated to say this is just an entertainment deal, this is still something else. But then I guess in that stance, people could say, how can you make a deal with this corporation that we are fighting for some sort of...
No, because Jay-Z's protest was about him. Jay-Z was like, I don't see how I was an option. Like, if you're going to ask me to do the Super Bowl, I should have been your only choice. That's what Jay-Z's stance was in terms of the NFL, innit? Yes, he was with Kaepernick in terms of like everyone else was with Kaepernick, but I'm sure there's a lot of people that still watch the Super Bowl. There's a lot of people, like, there will be like, do you know what I mean? That's what... That, from my perspective, that's the stance that Jay-Z had. Like, if we're going to do this entertainment thing, come on, man. It was like the Travis Scott thing. Travis Scott was a performer, but wasn't the headliner. He's like, he had the best year last year. Why should he be a performer? Why shouldn't he be the headliner? So from them kind of aspect, I get what you're doing. I get it. But then you can't say to me, oh, yeah, well, you're continuing what Kaepernick is doing. When Kaepernick still don't have a job, people still can't kneel and protest, because I believe that everybody has a position. There's going to be the protesters, there's going to be the people that drive about the change in it. And Jay-Z's the person that drives about the change, whereas the people like Kaepernick and the people that are...
start the change.
Start, do you know what I mean? But I just don't see how you can continue a movement without the people that originated the movement.
The fact that you didn't... Do you know what it was as well? It kind of reminded me... I know might sound a bit far-fetched, but it's just, no, it's literally, it's that when he was saying it, it's that when Malcolm X was talking about like Martin Luther King and that in those times when he was like, all right, we've got to move past the protests and all of that. So obviously they tried to compare those two at the time, and obviously Martin Luther King's philosophy was a lot more peaceful and all of that. So Malcolm X was about action. So he's just like, all right, we've protested and all that. But my thing is, Malcolm X put in the work to talk like that. Do you see what I'm saying? He put in the work himself to say, all right, I've seen it. Yeah, we've seen the whole community seeing the protest. So I've been there going through the stages of the protest. Now I myself will put in the action, the work. Do you see what I'm saying? To help progress this movement.
I don't think Jay-Z necessarily has to put in the work
he don't have to put in. You don't have to put in the work. But what it is again, he's diminishing the protesting thing by saying,
because he doesn't understand.
Do you see what I'm saying? By saying we're moving on from kneeling again, because it's like, but what have you actually done to say is Colin happy by you? Because you haven't even spoken to him. So for you to say we're moving past this, there's a lot more other people that are protesting, you know, apart from just him. Are they happy to move on?
Do you think he misread the backlash from the black community?
Yeah, no, definitely. Jay-Z thought that was like a boss power move, and that's what I could see me personally, I could see the genius in it. I think 5-10 years down the line, we won't be talking like this. Like I feel like he might do stuff like he might start incorporating again for like the entertainers and sports people. He will look after the black entertainers and sports.
I disagree with that because there's a history to support that Jay-Z would not do that. Remember when
I know what you mean. I was thinking that as well.
Remember when he brought the Nets? I know what you mean. Part of getting a stick in that was to ensure that black businesses and black owners and black entrepreneurs will be supported as part of his plans. And I think that was one of the reasons why the New York City sort of council were in agreement to actually give him part ownership of the Brooklyn Nets. And what has he done for the black community? That,
I
nothing
just
at
don't
all,
see why he
you know?
needed to even do the entertainment, because he does Made in
Yeah.
America. There's
Yeah.
so many other
And-
kind of
yeah.
entertainment fields you can boss and like own. I don't know why
But
he needed
NFL
to do
is
the
big,
Well,
man.
NFL
NFL.
is
I hear NFL's big thing,
Yeah,
but
that
this,
is
but this is the
huge.
thing though. It's constantly like we're talking about black people need to have their own, etc., etc. Yet still we're literally fighting to get into these spaces that they don't want us in.
But I think that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to break that
Yeah, but-
that barrier where
Well,
black
Jay-
people wouldn't even think of.
The
it.
only other person that I can think, if it wasn't Jay-Z, who it would be P. Diddy. Like, I can't even
yeah.
think, like,
Yeah.
if, for instance, those two were, who is the next in line? Do you know
But
what
I
I
think
mean?
that's why he's trying to groom people like Meek Mill and that, like the young, the new
Meek
gen-
Mill, I'm
Hey,
gonna
you'll
need
be
you.
surprised. Listen,
I'm gonna need you.
No, look, seriously, people that looked at Jay-Z when he was 30, 31 and been like, you ain't gonna be what you see now. Trust me, Jay-Z
Yeah,
back in that day, talking that talk. Remember, he was ugly, Jay-Z, to the world. You gotta remember that.
He hasn't gone good looking overnight, but
But he
anyway,
made
so
that
just
money.
just
No, but
bringing
that
it, bringing
money-
it. Let's bring it
no,
back.
We said so. You don't.
I don't agree with that.
So,
I don't feel
let's-
like Meek Mill
let's-
can be no post for
so-
anything.
I think-
Sorry.
No, fair enough. I
One
get that.
day.
I think the Jay-Z NFL move, I think, yes, I agree with Chris. From a business perspective,
Yeah, that's genius.
it's a genius move. Absolutely, 100%. I also agree with Sarah that if he has separated it to say this is a Jay-Z move, not a social justice move, it would be seen to be credible. Yes, people will question it. People will ask about his intentions, but at least he will have credibility on his own right that,
Yeah.
hey, this is for me.
Yeah.
This is about me trying to get myself ahead. I think by using that and by modeling up with the social justice movement, you have diminished the social justice movement. You've almost relegated it to a second class sort of issue, which is not. And I think one of the genius move from the NFL part, because again, this is a
It was.
brilliant move from the NFL.
Yeah.
It's a chess. That's a chess move.
Yeah,
100%.
Absolutely, is that by using Jay-Z, a
Use
prominent
Jay-Z.
black field goal in a black community that's well respected, that's actually earned its stripe, they understand that the black community are less likely to come out and criticize Jay-Z
Yeah.
publicly. Everyone publicly.
It's true. There has been the case.
I hear what
You
you're
are
saying,
fucking-
but
People have been on the fence.
It's-
And if it was anyone else, I don't think people would be on the fence like that.
Crazy, like
What-
Beyonce,
what-
Vivid,
yeah.
all of that.
But by doing that,
Forget
but doing
Beyonce.
that, let's be honest, yeah. How many people talk about Colin Kaepernick and all this stuff since then? It's sort of dying out
Yeah.
bit by bit. And I
But that's
think
the thing,
it's
though. It
gone out
depends
slowly.
what social media thingy. Because on Twitter, everyone's lighting up Jay-Z. Like,
Yeah, but what Twitter?
literally.
Is it Black Twitter? Or
It's
is it real?
on everything. On every.
Yeah, but like
Yeah,
Coach
but-
said, it's every job blogs, though,
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah.
It's not like you know the
Exactly.
big
No,
media
big
outlets.
media
No, but then,
Yeah, but
okay,
there's
okay,
media
okay, okay.
outlets are
But then what
also
you need
on
to understand though, yeah, the media outlets, Twitter has a lot more power than media
No, but
outlets.
We've got to
Because
understand.
because when you think about a trend starting
Yeah,
or
that's
some
true.
sort of is Sarah sitting there saying that this is wrong and posting something, and I'm like, yeah, this is wrong, and you're like, oh, this is wrong, and it creates that bubble for to raise awareness. So yes, we could say it's a Joe Blogs, but those Joe Blogs have power
a
now.
difference.
It's not like
Make a
before.
difference.
Sorry,
It's not like
I
before.
disagree with you. I think
Yeah,
Twitter,
no, yeah.
I think Twitter will get is trending.
Yeah.
I think we're talking about it. I think ultimately the mainstream media is what get the message out there.
Trust me.
For example, Donald Trump get roasted every day on Twitter. Lasts for 2 hours and it's done. Okay,
Yeah, it's true.
But put something on mainstream media where everyone can see.
It still gets done.
No, but that's what
It
one of the
still
elections-
gets done.
But that's what one of the
It
elections
still
are
gets
powerhouses.
done.
Do you know
No,
what I mean?
okay, wait.
Powerhouses.
Guys.
still gets
Let's
done.
bring this back in. Let's bring it back in. Yeah. So we're talking about Jay-Z and the whole NFL deal, right? And I think there is definitely something that you mentioned. I've been trying not to really get into this. I'm trying to be a host. Yeah. There is something that you mentioned, and I think this is the key thing to this, and it's something that keeps happening within the black community every time in, time out. They have perfected this whole rule, yeah? And the whole rule going back to the house nigger and going back to the field nigger. And sometimes what you do, and sometimes what they do, is that they get the baddest person in the field, and they put that person to be the authority over the rest of them, right? So a lot of the times, especially what you guys are saying, because what that has done is that because you've propelled this person in power, and it's almost like the whole Obama thing. For me personally, when Obama was in power, there was a spike of a lot of black people that were being killed by police officers, right? Because then it's like, what else do you want?
Then all our problems went away.
Yeah. What else do you want? The president is black. Do you know what I mean? So it kind of plays down the whole situation. Where we are at the moment, Jay-Z's had this deal. there's a lot of backlash. I feel like the mainstream medias are not really tackling it how it should be tackled because we're not really having a proper conversation to understand both sides of the situation. Where do we move from here then? What happens now?
Well,
I think in terms of the social justice movement, I don't know where that goes. The argument is, as Jay-Z's involvement sort of tarnished that movement in terms of the reputation and in terms of the credibility. There's always that discussion to be held. In terms of what Jay-Z can do, I think it's up to him to prove what he can do. Now he's gotten the platform. He said it, we're done with Nene. It's time for action. He's been given the platform now. I think time will judge him whether he's actually used that platform.
But he started, and none of you don't know about it. Do you know what I mean? Like, he started, he's got the concert, he's already donated to a couple charities for the social injustice movement, but none of you don't know about it, right?
Exactly. So, it's just been swept to one side, isn't it?
But do you know why I know about it?
Why?
Twitter.
No, but then also obviously what you have to understand, a lot of the times, even companies, when they experience a lot of backlash, what they try to do is do things to say, oh, I told you, this is exactly what I'm going to do. Yeah. So Jay-Z actually, at the moment, doing these type of things in the background does not necessarily mean that was his initial intention. No. It could be that, oh, I'm getting this backlash now. Let me show them that this deal that I made is not just about entertainment, that I actually care about social justice. Do you know what I mean? So it is a bit of a plus. It's like playing along just to keep people happy type of thing. It could be that type of thing going on as well.
Okay. My simple point was this, isn't it? Everyone's saying wait and see. The problem is that no one's even cares. Like, he's actually doing stuff currently, and no one's actually thought, oh, I wonder what's happened. We read the story, we read the outcome of what happened with the NFL thingy. We all have our opinions, but no one's really followed up about it. So if you're going to ask me, what do we do from now? There's nothing we can do. We can only let it play out, innit?
So
what is happening?
So are you saying that regarding the protest? Because when I say what do we do from now, because what is happening?
Sitting down listening to Jay-Z whilst he sits in his mansion. Do you know what I mean?
But then that's the thing, though. So so if you think of it this way, what is happening at the moment is that it's felt that Jay-Z might keep a lot of the protesting a bit more quieter. Yeah. So there are a lot of people that were with Colin Kaepernick because now they're a bit more. What's the word? They split in the middle in regards to what to do because Jay-Z is in there and people are not too sure what he's going to do. So is the protest still going to be relevant? Like, is that kneeling still going to be important as it was before Jay-Z got into the conversation? Yes. Because even if we have that going ahead, is that going to even make any clout? Did people actually care about the kneeling?
I feel like,
in honesty, apart from social media commentators.
What they did, because he did get all the way to the ear of the president.
No, it became a big deal.
So it became a big
because I'm sure that's the reason why he got stopped playing because of the president.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I think white people cared a lot more than black people.
100%.
Because they felt disrespected.
They thought that flag is whatever. No one talks about the racism in the second verse of the national anthem. But, you know what I mean?
It did get made into a big deal, but I don't know. I feel that, I don't know. Again, obviously, it's the patience. I think the enragement is like catching wildfire, in it. That people pissed off, and then now I feel like everyone is pissed off at it. Yeah. But if they start,
but they don't know where to aim their anger at the moment.
And the key thing here is the social injustice bit. Obviously, that's where he messed up. Obviously, it's the whole him talking a certain way about social injustice, where we haven't
trivializing it.
And we haven't actively seen him enough. And he can be. He could be putting in mad work when it comes to that. But for him to say it outright, it's just what it looks like to the world. So you get what I mean? If we're not seeing what you're doing quietly, what you're doing.
Now Jay-Z said you're past it. Why are you not still protesting?
That's the thing, because it's that for him to just put it down and say, all right, like I said, the first thing is, all right, so what have you done?
Yeah, but then does this not go into the whole thing of, because there's always conversations about black people not sticking together, right? Mm-hmm. And a lot of times why people say that is because people are always looking at it as in what's in it for me. So even though you three are protesting, Sarah could come around the side and say, okay, I know what you guys are doing, But this deal that's coming is really sweet for me. So yeah, let me take this deal off the back of the work that you guys have done, right? And then it will be like, oh, but if us four stuck together, we would have been able to get to a better position with the conversation that we're trying to have than you just going on the side to take that deal. So does that not add into the whole complex of black people sticking together? Because at the moment, if people are split, then is that not really what their agenda is then?
So you're saying basically it would help if we was to support him more.
Now I'm saying that with this move now, does that not add to the whole conversations around black people not sticking together? Is it kind of like a classic example of black people sticking together?
It's the classic, for me, it's the classic example of listen, once I get past a certain point, I'm gone, and I'm going to leave the crabs in the barrel as the crabs in the barrel. That's the classic move I've seen with what. And to be honest, I think those that, again, because I'm a Jay-Z fan, those that listen to his music, I'm not surprised. Because he's been telling you the kind of man he is in his music.
I'm a Nas fan, innit? So yeah. I'm always going to shit on that side.
Do you know what it is? From once he said that line of, lyrically I could have been Talib Kweli, he said, I've done myself down for dollars. Once I heard that line, I knew, oh, okay. So you knew what you could have been lyrically and what you could have given to your people, what you could have spoke about, but you said, cool, I'd rather dumb myself down for money.
So I think my conclusion today is that, in terms of Jay-Z and the NFL, I think from my point of view right now, maybe perhaps in the next few months or years, my perception might be probably different. But right now, it's a bad look. It's been planned. I think the execution from the start has been quite awful. If you look at the interview, he looks quite uncomfortable.
Yeah.
He was actually depressed.
Yeah.
It looks very nervous.
I've never seen Jay-Z like that.
And to me, it shows that a part of him does feel like,
it's wrong.
Yeah.
He's trying to sort his way out.
Yeah, so that is very uncomfortable for me. It's a bad move. I think that by excluding Colin Kaepernick from the whole discussion, he's almost played into the end of the NFL owners and their agenda. I'm hoping, as a black man who looks up to other black men as inspiration in terms of where we can get to, I'm hoping that he proves us wrong, me included, and he actually uses this platform to promote social justice. I do feel that at some point he will need to either reconcile with Colin Kaepernick or get him involved in this, because it's his movement. You cannot just take away someone's whole agenda away from them. You can be part of it, but you cannot commandeer someone's agenda and exclude them from the whole process. And I think by excluding Colin Kaepernick, you're literally feeding into the narrative that has been put in place by the NFL owners to make an example of Colin Kaepernick in the hope of deterring other NFL players from starting this, thereby stifling and actually putting to bed any future inspiration that people might want to have to raise any other social awareness. In the next 5 years, if black men are being strangled by white men, and people want to raise that by taking a knee, that would never happen. So
it will mean nothing anymore.
It will mean nothing. So I think right now it's a bad look, but I'm hoping Jay-Z can come good. I'm actually hoping. I'm not too confident, but I'm hoping.
Cool. Sarah?
With the whole social injustice aspect of Jay-Z's move, I just feel like he should just cut it out and stop trying to pretend he's doing this for some greater good. Like, don't get me wrong, I know how much Jay-Z puts into the community. I know he's been paying off all sorts of people's fees. He helped Meek Mill get released. He helped. I understand that he puts in work for social justice. Plus, that's his attachment to it in this NFL deal. To me, just seems like something you're trying to appease the people by. Like, make your money in it. Go. You're an entertainer. You work in entertainment. You made an entertainment deal. Cool. I can't imagine. Yes, it'll be questionable, but about NFL. But like, whenever any kind of big industry or big business violates anybody, like black people complain about it for a day and then they go back. H&M, for instance, you had your outrage for a day, they had a sale the next day. You all went down there and spent your money. So I don't think Jay-Z would have been harmed if he just came from that aspect. In terms of the Kaepernick thing, people say he doesn't need to consult him. I believe that he should have. And I hope that it turns out to be something that is beneficial for the black community. And I do hope that, we can look back at this and be like, we were wrong. Do you know what I mean?
I actually hope so. I actually hope so.
But until then, the only thing I could do is wait and see. He's still my favourite rapper, and I still believe that he has bars.
Yeah, so for me, it's the whole Jay-Z thing. For me, I feel like obviously I need to see it a lot more, because I feel like throughout the years, there's a lot of things I've started where they were heavily criticised at the start of when the initial program started, and people didn't understand it. And after a while, people started to see the benefits of it. But at the end of the day, I still do feel like even if we did still see that side, I think at the end of the day, the biggest winner here is Jay-Z, clearly, because the way he
NFL one.
Yeah, the NFL only, but Jay-Z personally, he's eating a lot of this. But the thing is, if he's eating off it, that's all well and good for him. As long as I see other people eat from it, that's all because he started, if he built the idea, that's all well and good. You can eat as much as you want. But if you start putting on for other people, that's all I want to see you put on for other people, and you actually talk about the social injustice. Don't be just getting black people singing and dancing and cooning on camera for the international scene, and then because that's what usually happens. You see what I mean? You got man shocking and jiving and be like, "Oh, put on black people." No, you have not. You put on black entertainers. And that's what gets me mad. Black entertainers aren't black people. They are one demographic. Not everyone acts like that. Not everyone's from that community. Like, listen, there's middle class black people, upper class, whatever. But all it is I just want to see him actually benefit social injustice, not just Colin Kaepernick, but the whole thing, even for years to come.
I think, as I said before, I think this move is more like a really big boss chess move from the NFL. They've played it so well, because they know that Jay-Z has so much clout within the black community, and a lot of the times it's order through chaos. A lot of the times he's split them within. A lot of the times he's come within and just dropped something like this that everyone is running around because, oh, this is someone that we have to be with. Oh, so at the moment, do we go with Jay-Z because he's leading people and he's doing certain stuff, or do we actually stand back and say what he's doing is wrong and we're not going to support that? And this is what is always happens within the black community. And I feel like this is a classic example again and again of something like this within our community. So it's almost like when I'm saying in regards to taking a stance and people being with you, the NFS felt heat, but the heat was coming more from social media. The heat wasn't coming. The heat wasn't coming.
Weren't doing the Super Bowl either.
Okay. So wait. Let me just the point I was trying to make. So we can say celebrities were not doing the Super Bowl, but people were still watching the NFL. It's not like all of a sudden it just nosedive and people were not watching it, right? So when I'm saying this, in regards to me being a business person, when I'm looking this, I know that my media out there, in regards to social media, is not great. But I know my figures are still up there. So all I have to say to myself is that I need to get this part fixed, because I don't need to worry about this part. Regardless of whatever is going on here, people are still watching this part, right? So to get this part fixed would be to get someone like that who appease people on that social media platform, or even split people altogether in order for me to still continue my conversation. Because now what is becoming is that the conversation is moving from NFL injustice to Colin Kaepernick and taking a knee about police brutality, which is not even part of the conversation now, against black people in America, to now about Jay-Z selling out. And that's not what the conversation should be. It should come back to what the original conversation was. Thank you for listening to this episode of the LDN Perspective podcast. Please get in contact with us. We want to create more of an organic platform. So if you have any questions, please check our Instagram page, which is LDN Perspective. You could also reach us on Twitter, Perspective LDN. And please, you could always drop us an email at ldnperspective@gmail.com. Thanks for listening.
Perspectives, different views, one voice.